Yair Lapid, leader of Yesh Atid. Thank you very much for joining me. Stephen Oryszczuk with the Jewish News. You're in London here in October. In Israel there is violence, and you are angry about the way that the British media is portraying this. Can you explain why?
Because it's biased, and it's biased to the point that it cannot be excused by sloppiness or not understanding the material, because if this was only sloppiness, it wouldn't be always sloppy to the same side. And the fact that the British media is making a compulsion or creating an equation in which the people are being stabbed for being Jewish are part of a conflict with the people who are stabbing them doesn't make any sense. And the kind of mistakes or alleged mistakes the British media is constantly doing, like saying, I read a headline in The Independent saying a Palestinian was killed, a Palestinian killed in Jerusalem during a terror attack. So you think there was a terror attack and the Palestinian was killed? No, he was trying to stab a policeman in the neck, trying to cut his throat, so he shot him dead, because this is what you do in London, and this is what you do in Paris, and this is what you do in Jerusalem. So this kind of coverage has went far beyond being sloppy. It is, I don't want to sound paranoid, but let's say the Jewish state is the only state is getting that kind of coverage.
Okay. We're seeing violence in Israel now. Why are we seeing violence in Israel right now?
Well, it's a new phenomenon. It's a very inflamed combination of 21st century social media that is sending to the air through Facebook and other means clips of very anti-Semitic to an extent you do not believe, terrible incitement about Jews. This is not about settlements, this is not about territories, this is not about the political dispute we have with the Palestinians. It is just horrible things about Jews in social media combined with things that imams are saying in mosques, combined with the fact that the Palestinian Authority is not stating the obvious, the fact that Israel has never tried to change the status quo in the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is the main claim now of the Islamic extremists. So it's an ISIL-like fire that has to do with the worst, most twisted, most fanatic version of Islam.
Okay, but ISIL is a very organized group, and these are random attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see it as a series of random attacks by lone wolves, or do you see it as more of an orchestrated effort by Palestinian leaders?
Well, the Palestinian leaders are on the back seat of this, but this cannot be approached only as random attacks, because if it's random, how come it's happening in the same time? So the kind of incitement that we see, the kind of self-radicalism that these people are throwing themselves into is more organized than people tend to think. Yet, I think it can be, we need time, we need patience, but it can be brought back into control. But you know, the Israeli security forces should be let to do what they do, and the British media and the international media should cover this differently.
On the subject of incitement, there are counter-arguments that some incitement comes from Israeli leaders. Prime Minister Netanyahu this week said that it was the Mufti of Jerusalem in the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s who pressed Hitler to burn Jews. Mm-hmm. Some say that that is incitement from Prime Minister Netanyahu. What do you have to say about it?
Well, I think the historical evidence tells us. I don't know. I don't think it makes a lot. I mean, there is evidence about it, but I don't think it makes a lot of sense that the Mufti has advised Hitler and Hitler followed. Hitler wanted to kill the Jews. If you can read Mein Kampf, Hitler wanted to kill the Jews from day one. And after the Wannsee conference, they took some actions. But this is not the story. The Mufti of Jerusalem went to meet with Hitler and Eichmann, and did say, he wrote it in Al-Haram, that he saw the right solution to the Jewish problem. The interesting thing about this is the fact this is happening decades before the 67 wars, decades before the occupation of the territories, decades before one settlement has been built, which comes to prove you that the Palestinian independent movement wanted the Jews to disappear and to die long before all these events. And this is important for people to know. But Hitler's Germany was aiming at killing Jews with or without the Mufti of Jerusalem visiting. So I think the Prime Minister made a mistake there, historical mistake.
Okay. So to be clear, we're criticizing President Abbas for his vocabulary. Are we also criticizing Netanyahu and any of his right-wing coalition ministers for their vocabulary also?
You are now doing what I was talking about, which is making an equation. Creating an equation saying the people, let's see if the people who are being stabbed in the neck are also to be blamed for being stabbed in the neck. The answer is no. The person with the knife or with the gun who's trying to kill the innocent for being Jews is the only one to be blamed. And to even hint that there is the slightest possibility that something we did or say has to do with it. We didn't change the status quo in the Al-Aqsa Mosque. We never said the Arabs or Muslims should be killed in the street. We never said that we have a problem with Muslims living either in Israel, there's 20% of the Israelis are Arabs, or in the Palestinian Authority. So I strongly protest the equation you just made.
Okay. The security arrangements that have been made since the violence broke out, relaxing live fire laws, house demolitions, blocking access to areas of East Jerusalem. Do you think that has been too much, not far enough? What's your take?
I think this is what you do when you're being under attack. I think if outside this window people were running and knifing other people, the London police will take very severe measures. And I think this is what we're doing. This is not a policy move, this is policing. This is security arrangements that are necessary when your people is under attack. So I think, I have enough places in which I can go and say, maybe we should do it this way or other way. But I want to sit on foreign soil and give advice to Israeli security forces. They're doing their job and they're doing it under very difficult circumstances. And we should bless them for this.
Would you like to see any extra security measures taken?
Well, I am discussing. I'm part of the Israeli Security and Foreign Committee of Knesset, so I have enough opportunities to offer my thinking about what kind of security measures should be taken. But this is operative. This is not politics.
What now for Israel's Arabs?
Well, in ways, it's them to answer. It's about them to. It's on them to answer this. I would say the following: we are living together in this country, and we should keep on living together in this country. And the coexistence of Arabs and Jews in Israel is part of the Israeli existence. And they have to make a decision, and the decision is whether they're going to let the fanatic Islamists run their lives and their reality, or people like the mayor of Nazareth, who said this cannot happen in my town, are going to lead the vocabulary of our Arab leadership and the Arab citizens of Israel.
You're in London, it's raining.
Mm-hmm.
It usually rains in London.
Yes, so
You've been to London many times.
Mm-hmm.
You've spoken to the leaders of the Jewish community here. What are the common areas of misconception or difference between Britain's Jewish community and for example, your view in Israel?
Well, listen, I don't find differences that are very deep. I was yesterday at an Emunah gathering, and I was telling the audience, as I'm telling other Jewish communities, that I expect the Jewish community to become more active in telling the British media what they think about what is going on with the kind of coverage. I think every Jew in this country should pick up the phone and call the BBC, call the Guardian, call the Independent, call the North, call the ITV and call the Channel 4 and say, listen, this is not coverage. This is biased, we protest, we are angry, and make them, because this in 21st century media is very sensitive about what the public thinks about them. If there will be enough voices saying something is really, really wrong here, and I'm telling you something is really, really wrong here, they will have to look again on the way they're covering Israel and the fact that they're putting the victims and the killers in the same boat.
Separate issue now, and last question. Jeremy Corbyn, the new leader of the British opposition, is known to be a supporter of the Palestinian cause. Have you met him or tried to meet him in your visit to London this time? And what do you think might be the impact on Israel if he continues to lead the opposition party and may even become Prime Minister?
Well, as remote of a possibility as it is that he'll become Prime Minister, it still freezes the blood in my veins, because this is someone who's obviously no friend for Israel. The friendship we have with Great Britain, with the UK, is solid and been there for a long, long time. I think it's admirable the way your Prime Minister stood up to it and told everybody we're not going to be part of this good wave of criticism towards Israel. So he acted like a true friend, and it is very well appreciated. I've met yesterday with Philip Hammond, who also I think is a great friend of Israel. And of course, I don't want to interfere with British politics, but of course, when Israel, we're looking at it from our angle. From our angle, we rather have friends of Israel in key position in England than people who are obviously unfriendly towards Israel, and the kind of language Mr. Corbyn has used before, and the kind of people, some of the people around him, and the views they have expressed are of course a cause of worry for us. No, I didn't try to the first part of your question, I didn't try to meet him. In ways I see no use.
Okay. Yair Lapid, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.